Here we go, here we go, here we go. I don't know if you guys can tell or not. I'm super excited. I'm like cheesing over here, grinning ear to ear. We've got Miss Claude Silver on today's episode of #Rise and Grind, and she is the Chief Heart Officer at VaynerMedia. She's number 2 in command. Some would say she's number 1 in command. It just depends on who you ask, right? But ultimately, she is an incredible human being. And we're going to tap into some of Claude's secrets to connecting with the masses. She helps manage over 800 employees. We're also going to talk about how she's been able to advance the company culture, even in a COVID era, which a lot of us struggle to do that with 20 employees. She's doing it with 800. And then we're going to tap into some of the mentors in Claude's life and how they've helped shape VaynerMedia today. So it's going to be an incredible episode of #Rise and Grind. Super excited to have Miss Claude Silver on today's show. I can't believe it. It's going to be super amazing. But before we bring her on, before we do all that, there's something that we do here on #Rise and Grind, right? We got energy up. We want to get the body moving. We want to get the blood flowing. So what we do is we dance, right? We just got to dance a little bit. So for those of you that know, and those of you that don't know, look, Claude's dancing in the back. She's amazing. Look at her. For those of you that know, and those of you that don't know, this is the part of the show where I need you to hit that share button. That's right. I need you to hit that share button because I believe if we can change the way people start their day, it'll make a massive impact on this planet. I truly believe that. And sometimes all it takes to change the way somebody starts their day is for you to hit that share button. This is also the part of the show where I want to say good afternoon. Normally it's good morning, but I want to say good afternoon to you, and I want you to say good afternoon to me. Whether you're watching live or you're watching on replay, say what's up. I'll say what's up back. Right, Claude? There's all kinds of people popping in here today. We got John Robertson in the house. Vanjie's in here. Cindy Conley is in here. How you doing, Mr. David Hook? Great to see you. Shauna Corsali, Kim Fair, Susan Wall, Pam Biddle, Sharon Falk, Heather Giese, Brantley Soma, Heather Fox, Pam Woosley. Everybody's hopping up in here. Jeff Baker, thank you guys so much for joining us on an afternoon edition. We got Sanjay Gupta, Pam Woosley is in the house. We got Lauren Paquetta, Valerie Christine, my goodness, Michael Mills. You guys are loading up in here. This is crazy. I love the support. Whitney Wells is in here now. Suzanne Wall. Everybody pulling up here in #Rise and Grind to meet my new favorite human being, Claude Silver, here on #Rise and Grind. Great to see you, Chris Campbell, Bob Kapowski. Thanks for the stars. Paul Huber just dropped some stars on us. I appreciate that, Paul. But you guys are all here. You're not here for me. You're here for Claude. So let's get her in here. Let's dig in. It's going to be super fun on today's episode of #Rise and Grind. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. How are you, my friend? How are you, my friend? See, there's no excuse for you not pushing yourself to the next level. In order for you to create a new you must have a new mindset. When teams come together, we can create things that are greater than the sum of all of their parts.
People need people, and then people need people that listen, and then people need people that listen and do something. When I was a kid, I wanted to be a philanthropist and a movie director. But what I realized is that I wanted to help people back then, way back in those days. My job is to have relationships with the people that I work with and that I work for. D-Rock was asking me today what my morning routine is, and so I was telling him about it, which is probably boring to you guys, so I won't tell you about it. But a lot of the times I prep myself. I might, if I'm talking to my best friend on the phone or if I'm listening to music, I'm prepping myself to literally make space so that we can make people feel safe, physically and psychologically safe every single day to be their best selves.
Love it. Claude,
Hey,
welcome to the show. How are you today?
amazing. Thank you so much. I'm dancing. I mean, that music is so awesome. Thank you.
That's awesome. Thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate you sharing this space with us today. There's a bunch of people here to meet you. Sarah just jumped in here, and Vanjie and Carmilla and Keith Hamilton from all over the country. They're here to connect with us today. So I'm thankful, so thankful that you're here. Now, typically, we do this show first thing in the morning, like 5:30 a.m. is when we typically do this show Monday through Friday. This will actually be our 692nd episode.
It's 92. I like it.
692, which is amazing. And so in that video clip right there, you said you weren't going to bore anyone with your morning routine. But we love morning routines. That's like our jam. And so I thought, well, we've got to start by learning, what does Claude's morning routine look like for
Oh
you?
my gosh. All right. It really does depend on the morning, but I do hop out of bed. I get coffee, drink some water real quick, put on some headphones, and I really actually look at my work. I like look at what's in front of me and almost compartmentalize for myself, clear some space in my head for what I'm about to go and do. Whether or not that's a 8:30 meeting, a 9:30 meeting, whether or not I'm the one that's going to pick my little girl up, change her diaper and get her ready for the day. It all depends, but most importantly, I have to get myself right, and caffeine is a part of that. Music is a part of that, and just kind of seeing my space, and then I can go and do from there. Whether or not I'm going to work out, like I say, or get into a meeting.
Yeah, I love that. And I think it's super important, right? We have to find that space that's kind of not clogged or cluttered with all of the things that we're about to head into, and really take some time to map that out so we're not just being reactive, we're being proactive. Super, super smart. So with that said, let's go into the connection and what you do for a living now and the 800 people that you serve over there at VaynerMedia. I'd like to go back just a little bit. So how did you originally connect with Gary?
Yeah, well, my best friend, who at the time was running media at Unilever, met him. I was living in London. I was at an agency called Publicis London, and she called me, I think, that day, and she said, "Look, I met this guy, and I don't know, there's something about him. You guys need to meet, and I'm gonna hook you up." So I knew who he was. I've been following him. This was 2013. I flew to New York for some business, and we ended up having a coffee. And within seconds, we were just like, "Oh, brother, sister, whatever." We get it, we get it. And I left that meeting and I called her and I said, "I just know I have to work with this guy, and I think he has to work with me."
Mm,
Super bold.
I
And
love that.
I just felt it. So that was September of 2013. And then I moved to New York and started early May of 14.
Gotcha. Now, and I love that. I love how there's another piece, right? Like the connector. It's so important. The people in our life and the connections, and just sometimes saying yes to those opportunities, right?
I mean, uh, yeah. There's no other option for me other than yes, yes, and probably. No is such a definitive, whereas
Yeah.
yes, like, whoosh.
Yes, I love that. Just saying yes, who knows where it'll lead? You never know. So fast forward a little bit. There was one point where you left. You left the company. I think it was for like a 4 month
Mhm.
span, and ultimately, you came back, and now you're in the position you're in, which is incredible. But what I wanted to tap into just a little bit is from that particular season. Like, how do you drum up the courage to really make that leap to like leave, right? Here you were, you met Gary Vee, you're like, he needs me, I need him. You're working together, you're in that position for a while, and then you're kind of like, this isn't a perfect fit, and I leave. I know a lot of people that maybe feel like it's not a perfect fit, but they don't actually take that leap to get out of that situation. So how'd you drum up the courage to do that?
Yeah, well, it's a really, really valid conversation. So I had been in the world of advertising for some time, and I was a strategist. So I was working on campaigns, coming up with ideas to pitch to clients and whatnot. And a few years prior to me even meeting Gary, it had started to, wear on me, if
Mm.
you will. I
Mm-hmm.
enjoy people. I enjoy the
Mm-hmm.
art of being with people, the messiness of humans, because I think that's beautiful. And I don't find a whole lot in terms of, figuring out if that's a lowercase letter or uppercase letter. Should it be blue or green? It's important, but it's important for other people.
That's right.
So I had this kind of like, oh, I don't think I can do this much longer.
Mm.
And two things happened. One, I knew Gary and I would be together forever in some way, shape, or form. I just knew that.
Mm-hmm.
So I had that confidence. That's not to say I had a lot of confidence to go in and resign. That was a whole nother thing.
Yeah, I bet.
I had to make the pivot. I had to do it because like this part of my soul was just like dying, and I know that's
Mm.
very dramatic, but that's how I felt.
Sure.
I had a bigger purpose and I needed to go and do. So that's what I did. I went in and I resigned. And by the way, I worked with someone to help me find the right way to resign to him and to
Mm-hmm.
figure out what it is I was actually doing, because I wanted to make sure that I was leaving the place better than I found it. So I actually had found my backfill, got her up to speed. She's there. She's doing a great job still.
Yeah.
And it really paved the way. And by the way, opened up so much possibility and opportunity for me. And this is something that he and I chose to create out of that.
That's beautiful. It really, really is beautiful. And I can resonate with that on a super high level. I was working with my best friend, my best friend at a car dealership, lots of success. And I just had that tug. Like I felt like I wasn't fully serving my purpose. There was more. And made that leap, and it's scary. It's really, really scary. But the doors that open up after that, it's pretty incredible.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love that. So, all right, let's go to what you're doing now. You're the chief heart officer. You have 800 employees over there at VaynerMedia, and when you look up your stuff, like it's amazing. They just talk about how you're the mentor, you're the coach, but you're the friend, you're the confidant, you're like everything for all of these people. Like you literally connect with 800 people in your position. So, what is the secret to connecting with so many different personality types and backgrounds and all of that? What is your secret? You're like, I'm keeping that a secret. No, I'm just kidding.
It's it's caring. It's giving a what. I
Yeah.
mean,
Yeah.
I'm smiling and I don't really have the answer, because the secret is just saying yes. The secret is holding space for someone and listening to whatever comes my way. And I enjoy that. I enjoy being able to take it. By no means am I swallowing it. I'm taking whatever it is they're sharing with me, and we're figuring out what to do with it right here, right here. And that's happened, what is it? It's 2:45 my time already. So I've done that probably 5 times today with different individuals.
Mm-hmm.
It is an honor. It is a joy. It is something that I find a lot of value in. I can take something from someone that's bogging them down,
Mm-hmm.
and almost with an alchemist mindset, figure out what to do, how to decork it, how to unleash some of that pressure, because we want our people. I want every single person at Vayner and every single person I come in contact with to have as much of a runway as they possibly can with a clear path.
Mm-hmm.
And that's part of the joy I get in the job. So connecting with people for me is I couldn't imagine doing anything else.
Right. Right. So extract this for me just a little bit. There's 2 questions I want to ask in line with that. So caring, you did mention like you receive it, but you don't absorb it. And I think that's crucial and key that people kind of grasp that, because it can get heavy, right? So we have our Rise and Grind group. We have 30,000 members in the group, and we get messages. We get messages from people that are deeply depressed. We get messages from people that are considering, taking their own lives. We get messages from people that are dealing with, death or sickness or illness or needs or desires, right? Like we get those messages, and sometimes it can get heavy, emotionally heavy. So how do you care and receive, but at the same time not allow it to alter or affect you emotionally and change your state?
Yeah. It's taken me a lot of practice. I've had to work on my own energy and in essence really protecting my energy, because me taking on your stuff for you isn't going to help me. It's not going to help me help you if I'm saying it only
Mm-hmm.
drops me down to where you are. That's not to say I'm not feeling with you. I'm not caring with you or caring for you, but I'm more of a passenger riding alongside you.
Mm.
And if I take on all of that, I am exactly where you are, and I'm not going to be able to lift us.
Mm.
I'm just not that strong.
Yeah.
You know? But so I studied to be a psychologist a long time ago, and I've studied a lot of energy work and all that kind of Northern California goodness, which I am, and that's really helped me. It's not compartmentalized. It's just helped me kind of just go behind my eyes a little bit. I
Sure.
don't know how else to really say it other than I want to be riding alongside you, and that way we are almost like partner. We're partners in this,
Yeah.
you know.
I think that's really it's incredibly unique gift, right? And yeah, I could imagine that takes a lot of work, and probably an area I need to kind of work on myself. I'm a high energy guy. I always can be positive. I can always put a smile on, but sometimes I almost feel a little guilty when I don't feel what they feel. You know what I mean? Like I'm trying to shield it a little bit, so I don't want to come down to their level. But sometimes I almost feel a little bit of guilt for that. Like, oh, Glenn, you got to be a little more sensitive. Do you ever feel that way?
No, I don't. But
Mm.
I'm going to just give a quick example. So
Okay.
let's talk about uh, gosh, we're all so alike. That's the
Yeah.
deal. We all are having similar human emotions over and over and over, whether or not it's via COVID, whether or not it's via Black Lives Matter, whether or not we have someone that we love dearly in the hospital, whether or not someone we know and we love dearly took their life. Like, we are humans.
Mm.
None of us is devoid of what happens as a human being, right? We just aren't. So it's not being insensitive, it's really understanding, because I am a human. I understand loss.
Hmm.
I understand pain. I understand things I cannot control, which, by the way, is the hardest lesson to ever learn, right?
Right. Right.
Change anything other than me. So the deal is like, let's take someone that is either contemplating taking their life or has someone in their life that just took their life. The idea is to really, really be there with them,
Mm.
not denying their pain, not
Hmm.
denying their grief. Really, in fact, if anything, getting in there and saying, gosh, what must that be like? What
Mm.
is that like? What are you feeling? How can I serve you? How can
Mm.
I support you? And even if you're not asking that question, because it can be really, really intense for someone who's just lost someone, it's literally like just interjecting yourself as like a passenger. Again, if you were driving in a car and I was your passenger, I would know when it was time to put the air conditioning on.
Right.
I would probably know if we're getting static on the radio, even though no one listens to the radio anymore, and to tune it. Those kinds of things. Like, I
Sure.
know if you're eating a sandwich, you need a napkin because you're driving. Like, I'm being highly metaphorical right now, but
I
um,
understand.
intuitively, we get one another. And what I believe happens, and one of the reasons that I think there is a lot of loneliness in this world, is we forget to use that intuition. We
Mm.
forget that we actually get it.
Mm.
Just kind of shut off. We take care of ourselves, and all is well. But the fact is all well? No, not when people are hurting.
That's
It's not.
right. That's right. I love that. Really sharing that space with them, sharing the space. protecting the energy, but sharing the space, riding along with them, showing them that you care. I love it, Claude. You're special. You're really special. So with that said, let's take this whole idea, this whole concept that you just broke down so eloquently right there. What does that look like when you've dealt in with other corporations and you've spent lots of time, Fortune 500 companies, corporate world, things like that. So if you walk in and let's just say someone, comes to you from another company, they're like, we need some advice. What do we do? And you're like, we need you to care. Like, how does that go over with, the corporate bigwig that's looking to move their P&L statement or something like that. And you're coming at them with, you need to care more. How does that usually go over?
That's awesome. I love it when you just break it down exactly like that. So usually it's like this. Just listen to your people. Ask them what's going on. Ask them what you need, because what your corporate, so forth and so on, needs for his or her P&L is to retain the people, the high-performing people.
Yes.
So how can you retain the high-performing people? Make sure you're listening. Make sure you're providing them a place where they can grow, where they can fail, where they can be trusted to stand back up, where you have their backs, where you're going to give them opportunity.
Right.
Like listening is something we can all do. And we can all do that fairly easily if we just remind ourselves to do that. If we just take ourselves and our big old bravado out of the way and realize that the only way our P&L is going to increase is if we have the right people doing the job in the best and most successful way they possibly can.
That's right.
Being innovative, being creative. And so you have to allow people to be people. You have to allow humanity to come in. Otherwise, you're just sitting here in a box and not much happens within a box. There's four corners and you stick to your four corners and thank you very much. But there's a whole lot of innovation that's going to happen there.
That's for sure. That is a fact.
Emotions don't fit into a box.
That's right. That is a fact.
Right?
Right. I love it.
Sloppy Joes over here.
Yeah, I love it. And I love that you point to listening first. I work with leaders in the auto industry, owners, general managers, across the board. And one of the first things I teach them is the acronym for LEAD, LEAD, and I add an extra D. I do LEADD. And I say, okay, awesome. Yay. I'll share some value, hopefully. So the first L in LEAD, right, is listen. That's it. 2 ears, 1 mouth, right? Mm-hmm. Then the E stands for encourage. And I like putting that right behind listening because a lot of people listen to defend. They listen to object. I want you to listen so that you can encourage, right? So that you can encourage that person in some way, shape, or form. Now, once we've listened and we've encouraged, we've now earned the right to advise, which is the A in lead. And then after we advise, we have a responsibility to develop. We can't just tell people, hey, go do this. We got to show them how to do it. And then we added an extra D so we can make sure everyone knows we need to do this daily. It's not something we do every once in a while, right? So listen, that's it right there. Listen, encourage, advise, and develop daily. Yes.
You heard it here, my friend.
That's it. That's it. That's awesome, Claude. So I love that you led with that. So this show goes super, super fast. It's a quick 30 minutes, especially when you have an amazing guest like you. If you haven't done so already, do me a huge favor. Tag a friend, hit the share button, do something like that. Those of you that are watching live, we truly appreciate you. Mr. Overfelt, I'm glad you're here. Paul Huber, Emily Gowler, Bruce Pulver, Nathaniel, we absolutely love that you're here. Do me a favor, hit that share button, get the word out. If it's okay with you, Claude, I know your schedule's tight. Can I throw 2, maybe 3 more at you?
Yeah, I can go over, my friend.
You can go just a little bit over. Okay, beautiful. So let's talk COVID real quick. COVID's thrown some major punches across the board. It seems like from my end, because I do follow a lot of Gary and what's going on there. It seems like from my end, like VaynerMedia seems to be like picking up steam. Like it seems to be really progressing, especially through this season. So how has COVID kind of affected the company culture? And if what I'm seeing from the outside is true, where it's moving forward, like how are you how are you guys really injecting that and moving the company forward during this season?
Yeah, great. And you're very perceptive. So one of the things that is so incredible about Gary, and that he's really trained a lot of us on, is being what he would call a wartime general. So that is really being in action and knowing what levers to pull when it gets heavy. You know, easy to be a peacetime general because it's just chill, right?
Yeah, right.
So, as soon as COVID hit and we had to make some very, very big decisions, not only in terms of working from home, we had to look at our own P&L and our top line, bottom line revenue, and we had to really make some decisions on staffing, which, by the way, we're always doing because we're a company that's always looking to be the highest performing we possibly can while putting our people first. So,
Sure.
while we did have to let go of some people, we do that with grace. We make sure that there's a package on the way out, all of that stuff. But the thing that really kept us chugging along was being transparent and communicating often. Whether or not that was Gary having all hands, whether or not that was me having these Wednesday meetings with 85 leaders from across the globe, so that people understood where we were so that they can disseminate the information quickly to their team. So the communication, the transparency was key. I think when the murder of George Floyd happened, the riots, and then obviously the movement, Black Lives Matter movement, has come to the fore, us being there immediately to catch every single thing that was chucked at us.
Yeah.
What are we doing? And then acting on that. So like making sure that we were bringing in the right type of educators to educate us, making sure that we were getting all of our community resource groups together to have courageous conversations, to spring into action. Again, cookie played in the beginning, and the thing I say all the time is like, people need people that listen. And then people need people that listen and do something. And that's the part of a leader, I believe. It's one thing to listen, it's another thing to do, because that shows the company and the culture that what they say is super important, and we heard them and we're going to move forward. And by the way, it's not a sprint, it's a marathon. And also, it's not a straight line. It's not a line drive. We're going to zig and we're going to zag, because we're a company and we're figuring it out and shape-shifting the entire way. While, by the way, keeping the lights on. So making sure that our client partnership teams are out there and our creative teams are out there innovating and creating in a time where, you can no longer be on production shoots, and we have a production studio, with 50 people. You had to do user-generated content. So the nimbleness, the flexibility, the scrappiness of us, and who we are, I think really combined with action and transparent communication really helped us, over the hump to where we could look out on the top of a mountain and see the horizon. And for a good 3 months, man, oh man, where we were in the rubble down there.
Yeah.
And so we're constantly looking at our finances. We're constantly looking at our peeps. We're constantly looking at our processes or lack thereof.
Sure.
Whatever it is, So it's good. I mean, for a company that's 850 large, we're still so small. There's a small team that gets together and we make these decisions pretty quickly. Yeah. And for Gary, the KPI is speed.
Right.
And that is now in all of our veins.
Yeah.
That's, you have to have that to be, part of this dream team, really. And it's something that can be taught.
It can, yeah. That's awesome. Yeah, core. It's like a core value, right? Speed. We do everything with speed. We do everything. We just move. I love that, man. A wartime mindset and the transparency and the communication, I think, was a mistake that I saw a lot of people make. A lot of people were a little bit nervous. They were a little scared to maybe be transparent with where their company was, or a little scared to communicate because they didn't know what to say, or they didn't know what, it's crazy, right? And so I think that instills a lot of confidence in a leader when, even when you don't know the answers, you still show up, right?
That's right. Because you know what? Those first 3 months or that first 9 weeks, that was just triage, man.
Yeah, it really was.
Triage, and it might have gone to July, who knows? But like in triage, you only know how to treat the bleed really quickly. That's what you're.
Yeah.
You're stopping the bleed, and then you have to come back and you have to reassess. And then you can move into a place where there's some kind of steadiness
Sure.
and into transformation. But you have to stop the bleed first.
Beautiful. I love it. And I love that metaphor. And I love your ability and your gift to be able to take what can be very complex and simplify it into something visual that we can all appreciate and understand. I'm sure you have to do that all the time.
I wish you would have told my 10th and 11th grade teachers that I actually had that skill and it was going to be useful. Like, just because I didn't pass anything in algebra, like it was, I was going to do something in life.
Right, right. And now you are. You're doing some big things. And since you went back in time a little bit, I'm going to go back just a hair too. I watched an interview with you. I think it was for like Bustle magazine or some other thing. And you mentioned some mentors. You mentioned like Dalai Lama. You mentioned Oprah. You mentioned Gary, of course. You also mentioned your Nana and the influence that she's had on you. In what ways has the mentors that have been in your life ultimately impacted and shaped VaynerMedia?
Well, what a really great question. So,
Thank you.
I think that, yeah, thank you. I have followed or vibed off of these certain people because we speak a very similar language.
Sure.
And also because they've been able to put my feelings into language.
I love that.
Cultures really need to be infused with language, because feeling is one thing, and like you can have a culture that feels a fear, of an inspiration, of safety, whatever, but at some point you're going to need to put some kind of language towards that.
Sure.
So when Gary talks about empathy, or when I'm talking about building a revolution of tenderness, or bringing kindness, or doing the right thing is always the right thing, or 99% of things don't matter. These are all things that Gary and I say. It's language, and it becomes a common nomenclature, a commonality within a culture. So we can all kind of come together in that language pool, like in that soup of very, very similar, if you know what I'm saying, similar.
Yeah, I do. You're all speaking the same language. You're all on the same page.
So those mentors, my Nana, my Nana was the most empathetic and generous person I have ever met and will ever meet. I know that in my life. And, the fact that she was able to still volunteer at the hospital up until she was 100.
Wow.
Still on her answering machine. And by
wow.
on her machine, it said, ring, 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 ring. It picked up. It didn't say, hi, this is B. It said, I swear to you, it said, would you do me a favor and have a peaceful day? Click. That's it. So
wow.
That to me is everything. And so that is what I infuse into VaynerMedia and into any culture I'll ever be in, because that is what we're striving for.
Yeah.
That is what we're striving for. Things are very complex and things can be very heavy. And there are many, many things that are out of our control. So why not try to infuse your places of work, your places of wherever, your soccer team, whatever, with as much peace and goodness and kindness as possible,
I love it. I love it. And thank you for sharing that with us. That's really, really special. 100 years old, still out
she
there.
died at 101, man. 101.
Unbelievable. That's incredible. All right, 2 questions that I'm going to let you go. I want to stay here with you forever, by the way, but I do know that you have a lot, and I just so appreciate you sharing this space. So 2 questions. Look, going back to that language piece, you're talking about everybody speaking the same language. In all of the things that I've seen in researching you and learning about you, you're very passionate about people injecting their voice into the conversations. You focus some even on, like on the female side, how there's a lot of women that maybe feel like they can't inject their voice or whatever. But ultimately, across the board, it's something that you've shown you're very passionate about. People need to be a part of the conversation. Don't just sit back and listen. Like, let's be a part of the conversation. So for those that are afraid to maybe do that, to inject their voice into those conversations, what do you suggest they do? Is there a trick? Is there something, to start creating that habit of injecting their voice, even if you don't necessarily have the confidence to do so?
Yeah, I love that question because there are some tactical steps that I certainly have used. You can hear that I'm not the most eloquent of speakers.
Oh,
However,
you're pretty wonderful.
thank you. I'm speaking from the heart, and what I say is very common sense, very commonsensical. I had to get over a big limiting belief that I wasn't smart. And once I could identify what was holding me back, what was my limiting belief, it opened this entire door for me. When I realized that I don't need to sound like I read the New Republic or the Economist every single day, that actually there is a place for my voice, it really enabled me to use my voice more. Now, you can practice that. You can certainly have your friend video you. You can certainly video yourself. That is one of the things that I would absolutely recommend, which is have your buddy, have your mentor, have whomever, just practice with you. That's really key because, then, by the way, you can get a little humor in there too, but you can see
Sure.
you can see where you say, I don't know, or you look down, all of that stuff. That's the first thing. The other thing though to remember is that your voice is super needed. It is because it's coming from a very unique perspective.
Mm.
And what I say with people is like, don't be a wallflower. Tell that little you to go sit in the back, and you deserve to take up space. And in the working world, I really believe right now we are hungry for bursts of creativity, bursts of innovation, bursts of inspiration, bursts of things that we don't normally think about. Because, like, look, if you're a new hire, you're coming to us with a whole world that we have no idea about. We have
That's
no
right.
idea. You just so, you know, the practicing is key. Also the identification of like what is blocking you, and it can be really, really simple, such as at the dinner table when I was a kid, I always got spoken over. You
Hmm.
know, I don't think I'm smart, or da 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 da. So there's a number of things, and I'm happy to talk offline with anyone that is interested and look and searching. A real simple book that really helped me was "You Are a Badass."
Yeah, I've read that. Yeah.
I think about all the time because it's so simple, and it's really like these are the things that are getting in your way. Like these are the reminders of to love yourself, to appreciate yourself. Like you are unique.
Mm.
You don't want to be like X, Y, and Z. You want to be your own flower in the garden.
That's right. Yeah, I love that. The uniqueness. I think people can understand and maybe appreciate that they're unique, but they don't necessarily see the value that that adds into every room, right? Your perspective, your experiences, your what you've listened to, what you've heard, what you've read, where your feet have touched, where your hands have been, all of that makes you uniquely you and adds value in every situation. You mentioned that if people were having trouble with limiting beliefs, they could maybe reach out to you and you can work with them through that. What is the best way to connect with Claude Silver?
Yeah, you should LinkedIn, go on my website, write me, and I write every single person back. It might take me a little bit of time, but
Yeah,
look, I'm here to serve. I mean, I want to bring just more tenderness and more joy into this world, and I really want to help people like be able to identify what keeps them down, and most of the time that's shame, and like let's look at it and let's move through it because you're not alone,
that's right. That's right.
and they're
That's right. Beautiful. All right, connect with Claude. Hey, for those of you that are watching, hashtag Rise and Grind, especially my guys and girls that are like here every single day, the best way that we can honor a guest who agrees to share space and time with us here on hashtag Rise and Grind is to hit that share button and then blow Claude up. Like all day, I want you blowing her up with messages, encourage her, the value that you received from today, all of those things. Blow her up, let her know that you really you heard what she had to say and you appreciate her. I'm going to give you one last thing, one last opportunity. I'm going to put you up on top of a mountain real quick. It's just you. You're on top of a mountain. All of civilization is looking at you. They're down at the bottom and they're cheering, right? Claude, Claude, Claude. They're cheering it. Claude, Claude. Somewhere we're going, Silver, 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 Silver. And they hand you a microphone. and you have 2 minutes. 2 minutes to drop something on them, practical application that they can apply in their life today, this week, this month, this year. What are you going to tell them?
First of all, I'm going to say, take a book from Lenny Kravitz, and I'm just going to say, let love rule. And then ask everyone to put their hand on their heart and close their eyes and think about someone they want to blast love to. Like, intentional about it. And then blast love to yourself. And then literally go whoosh, and let that energy out across the lands, into the sea, into the sky. That's what I'm going to say today. And I'm going to say pass it on and pass it on and pass it on, because giving someone your attention, an act of generosity, increases oxytocin internally. And oxytocin, we know, is the hugging drug. We get it from babies. We get it from hugs. We need more of this right now. A lot more of this. We need to literally build bridges with oxytocin.
That is my new favorite human on the planet, Mrs. Claude Silver. Take it, just wrapping things up with a bang. Blast the love out. Blast the love to self. It is what we need. It's what the world needs. You are spot on. And Claude, you're an amazing human being, clearly uniquely made. The God of the universe made you to be the absolute best version of yourself you can be. And you're out there doing it, and it's making an impact on your friends, your family members, your coworkers. And today, right here on #RiseAndGrind, you made an impact on us. And when I say us, I also mean me. So thank you so very much for being on our show today. Yes, I really appreciate you as well. I'm going to send them off. Hang tight for just a second. All right, my friends, get on out of here. Thank you for joining us. If you haven't done it, hit the share button. Blast the love out. Rick Tamburino, you missed the book. The book that You Are a Badass was the book that we talked about earlier. Houston, great to see you. Whitney, thanks you guys for all tuning in. Share this out. Blow Claude up. Have an amazing day. If you need more videos like this, you can go to glennlundy.com. Of course, you can always head over there, catch some more episodes of #RiseAndGrind. If you're listening on our podcast, make sure you hit that subscribe button. Drop some comments. Let us know what you thought of today's episode. And come back again tomorrow morning, 5:30 a.m. We'll be here all over again on #RiseAndGrind. Good morning, good morning, good morning. How are you, my friend? How are you, my friend? You see, there's no excuse for you not pushing yourself to the next level. In order for you to create a new you must have a new mindset. When teams come together, we can create things that are greater than the sum of all of their parts.